Pagdating kay VP kasi I think I was the longest na nakapansin eh. Kasi nasa loob, parang nakakulong ano. Parang nasa loob pa kami ng gabinete nung ano na mararamdaman mo naman na something is not right. Yung kumbaga, yung unity maliwanag that was something that between the president and the vice president, pero beyond that hindi mo mararamdaman talaga 'yon. So, and I understand that she was always very uncomfortable during that time. Ang hindi lang namin akalain is that yung aabot sa ganito, na aabot na it's outright ano, parang giyera na talaga between the two. And kumbaga, nakikita ko naman yung panig ni Bise dahil, well, hindi naman sikreto yung mga ginagawa sa kanya ngayon. Ngayon, halatang-halata na. Dati kasi, it was still just something that was whispered about. Ngayon, all-out war. And wala nang pakialam yung kabila na ipakita at ipakita ng lantaran yung kanilang mga efforts sa kanya. So, well, what pattern? What pattern? Well, of course, kumbaga pare-pareho eh. Kaya lang, yun nga lang, sa kamalasang palad, may mga nauna. So, may mga natatanggal sa trabaho na nasa pribadong sektor na eh. Tinatanggalan pa rin ng trabaho. Meron naman iba doon, biglang naiimbento, may kaso. Mga dismissed na yung kaso, biglang na-file. With VP Inday, meron pang mga congressional investigations, meron pang mga ganyan. And so nakikita natin ang pattern dito is yung panggigipit, a pattern of oppression and a pattern of retaliation. Pero in this case, di ba, pagdating kay VP Inday, ano yung retaliation? It's really oppression, a progressive oppression. Gayon din naman sa iba, like with Pastor Kibuloy. It was a progressive oppression. Wala namang ginagawa si Pastor para mag-merit ng kahit anong ganitong klaseng action sa kanya na yung mga dismissed cases biglang nabubuhay, di ba? Resurrection kaagad. Tapos with VP Inday, wala namang reason para siya ay imbestigahan. And then, ayan, may invento na naman ng mga paper trails, kunwari. In fact, the confidential fund, alam natin, this was actually the president to begin with. In 2022, wala namang budget. Lahat kami, pagpasok namin sa gabinete, wala talaga kaming budget. We were working on the budget of the previous administration na in many instances, kukunti na lang pag-take over namin because it was already half the year. Tapos, hindi kami we were also bound by the submitted budget and the NEP that was already created by the previous government, previous administration. So kung nabigyan si VP Inday dyan, it was through the releases of the Office of the President kasi parang yun na lang yata ang may budget nung time na yun na hindi pa obligated. So nakita nyo dyan that in the progressive years that the President was well aware of any budget that the Vice President was getting. Not only that, they know how she used it in 2022. Bakit surprise attack? Ito na naman. Kine-question nila later on if there was an issue with the 2022 releases, bakit in 2023 hindi nila natanong? Ito na lang 2024 or late 2023 nung hihingi nilang ng 2024 budget, suddenly ayaw na nila yung confidential funds. So we can see that there is a progression, hindi lang an institutionalized oppression, pero it progresses. It goes from, nakikita natin, di ba, yung first, yung mga tinanggal sa government, those that were associated with the previous admin, dahan-dahang nalalagas the current admin. Kung may continuity, that would not have happened. And then, palala ng palala. Suddenly, nabawasan na tanggalan ng prangkisa ang SMNI. Suddenly, the Vice President has to defend confidential funds na never before dinadala sa Kongreso para questionin because of the confidential nature of the funds. So now, nakikita natin, palala ng palala yung mga paratang, palala ng palala din yung marahas na pinapakita na action sa atin. kumbaga, dahan-dahang nawawalan ng hiya. Well, hindi naman dahan-dahan, pero nawawalan na ng hiya, tapos pinapakita sa atin. And the only conclusion we can draw about this is there's a possible deadline that they have to meet. So yun yung patterns natin na nakikita. It's all going to converge at some point.
Ma'am, dito po tayo sa naging remarks, rhetorical remarks ni Vice President Inday. Yung sabihin po niya na may restback siya nga, sakaling ipa-assassinate siya, no? Bilang abogada, ma'am, may nakikita po ba kayong red flag sa batas?
Sa batas, hindi. Sa interpretation na ginagawa ngayon both on social media and elsewhere is yung kumbaga either highly emotionally charged or it's really straying away from the factual and objective matters in this. Halimbawa, I mentioned the term hyperbolic ito. At ang interpretation ng ilang mga tao na bakit ganon? Anong hyperbole dyan? So, you cannot equate hyperbole and hyperbolic because one is a noun, the other is an adjective. So pag sinabi nating hyperbolic, it's highly charged. It is extreme. Yun talaga yun. But then, you will take that also into consideration because the threat is also extreme. It is a threat on the life. So, ang hindi napapag-usapan, napansin ko, is that yes, they understand, people understand yung conditional nature ng sinabi ni VP Inday. If this, therefore that. Diba? If this, the natural consequence would be this one. So, but what very few people talk about is the criminal nature of the condition. If I am, I don't know if I can say it here, unalived, kumbaga, if a crime is committed upon her, then a consequent crime will be its natural product. So, nobody is talking about, or very few are talking about, the condition is a crime to be committed against her. And therefore, this entire thought, this entire statement is a statement of self-defense, which I'm sure everybody ought to recognize if it was given to them. So, kumbaga, ang sinasabi ni VP Inday, to protect myself, I will issue this statement. To protect myself, this is what I will show you, the natural consequence of a crime committed upon my person. So, hindi po na pag-uusapan yung part na yon that this will happen only if a crime is committed on the Vice President, which I think everybody should be worried about. Pero syempre, may mga drama-drama na lang dyan para malihis yung more objective conclusion. So, she's ahead here in this game.
Opo, ma'am, ayos ko lang pong singit yung comment dito ni former Ambassador Bobby Tiglao. Sabi niya, what kind of assassin would be so stupid as to risk his life to kill a hard target when the contractor is already 6 feet underground? Ano masasabi mo doon, ma'am?
Well, nakita natin yan. Actually, ang nagpo-provide nga yan, sinasabi din yan, surprisingly, nung mga nasa panig ni BBM in order to ng administrasyon, no? In order to show that this was a statement not well thought out by the Vice President. Kumbaga, if she really planned this, then mali yung plano niya kasi it's not effective. Which I am thankful to the adherents of the administration kasi they've already provided her with a defense. And so the fact that people are mentioning this, that it is not a well thought out plan and most likely will not occur, is a defense on the Vice President. So the fact na sinasabi yan, regardless of the political position, is indicative of the universality of the appreciation on that end of the Vice President's position. So kahit sabihin pa nila ay hindi maganda yung plano ni Inday, and some of them of course are very, very insulting about her intellectual capabilities, but ang sinasabi nila is actually a defense of that entire thing. If they think that it isn't a feasible plan, that it is impossible, then the characteristic of this as an impossible crime is also sustained by the millions, diba? By the onlookers. So for me, it's a good statement because it can work for either side.
Doon din po ma'am sa pagrereklamo ni VP Sara na sabi niya kung threat sa buhay niya hindi pinapansin.
Yan
Tapos
talaga.
yung sinabi verbal lang, whole of government approach kasi may nakaraan na press release ang PCO na lahat daw ng gobyerno ay all out versus VP Sara Duterte. Ma'am.
I think nag-iintay lang sila. They were waiting for the vice president to say something because as you know, she is quite colorful and parati siyang she has good and very strong opinions. So nung narinig nila ito, talunan sila. They jumped on it right away because they see it as an opportunity na isugod yung kanilang side, di ba? Para magpakita na, para maka-create ng drama, maka-create ng, bagong operation against her, panibagong, asunto or, attempted asunto, kumbaga, panibagong media plan, panibagong media operations, panibagong lawfare item, panibagong target with the vice president. But if they had taken the time to think about it, I'm sure they would not have been so extreme dun sa kanilang reactions. Na nasa punto na pagka-investigador na ang tinatanong mo, nahihirapan na sila mag-explain kung ano dito ang kaso na ifa-file nila sa vice-presidente. They can try yung mga grave threats and coercion and all that, but again, the predicate here, the condition here is a crime to be committed on the vice president. So medyo popcorn moment pinapanood ko yung statements na ginagawa ng ibang mga tao with this one. But kayang-kaya naman ni VP Inday because all she has to do is stand on the fact that the condition precedent to any of the statements that she made is that a crime is to be committed on her person, a crime that is so extreme it could eliminate her. So again, babalik at babalik doon. And what we have not been hearing from the administration is, ang reaction nila is, hala, may threat sa presidente. Ignoring the fact that she has just revealed that there are threats on her life and there's no denial coming from the people that she has indirectly accused. Hindi niyo ba napapansin, parang tumataginting ang katahimikan dun sa mga nagsasabi na, it's a threat, pero conveniently ignoring that she has just revealed that there are threats to her life, to her person, coming from the people who are claiming to be victims of her statement. Kaiba. Because dun sa batas, when the occasion arises na dapat na may reaction ka, your lack of reaction is also evidence that can be submitted against you. So, kung nag-react ka, kunwari, natamaan ka, umaray ka, evidence yon na nasaktan ka. Kung natamaan ka, hindi ka nagpakita na nasaktan ka, that is evidence against you. Yeah. Evidence yung isa, evidence against the person who hurt you pag umaray ka, evidence against you pag hindi ka umaray. So now, sino dito yung hindi umaaray? Lalong-lalo na, while conveniently ignoring a statement, an indirect accusation of liability for the threats on the Vice President's life.
Ma'am, ano sa inyo yung dating doon sa reaksyon ng AFP na tanggalin nyo lahat ng detail sa VPSG, palitan ng bago, tapos sinabi ni VP Sara na araw-araw binabawasan yung mga nakatoka sa kanya na VPSG. Ano yun? Okay lang ba yun na reaksyon ng AFP?
It is not okay. It is not. Ang mga bodyguards, ang mga security, especially those with a close-in, with close-in duties, these are positions of trust and confidence. Nobody should have the final say on who will be surrounding her. Kasi bantay sa lakay na yan eh. Parang inappropriate and quite unfortunate yung mga statements at saka actions ni Chief of Staff. Itong tatanggalan siya ng security is it can already be interpreted not just to putting her in danger, putting her life, her safety, and her health in danger. But if something does happen, we can already start investigating for conspiracies. Yeah. Why would you compromise the security of the vice president? Why would you violate the position of trust and confidence, her own discretion in choosing the people who would protect her life? She can actually reject those that are selected even by the chief of staff. Ang pwede lang gawin ng chief of staff or ng PSPG sa PNP is to approve or disapprove. Pero pag namili siya, because she needs to be able to trust the people around her, hindi sila pwedeng mamili on her behalf. They cannot substitute her discretion with theirs pagdating sa kanyang security and safety. So, in fact, kung hindi po ako nagkakamali, diyan po ay maaaring court-martialable offense, tinatawag namin, if there are any actions of particularly official actions that directly lead to compromise on the security and safety of any of our high government officials, particularly dito, the second highest official in the land. I mean, we talk about there are very specific court-martial offenses, disrespect to the president, disobedience to the president. But when it is the vice president, nakakalimutan nila that she is a heartbeat away from the presidency. What you cannot do to the president, you ultimately have to think that you also have to afford the vice president the same line of respect, the same line of concern for security and safety.
Attorney,
National security issue yun,
Opo, magandang gabi. Meron pong superhero. Di ko alam kung confirm po talaga na ang nagsabi po na hindi na wag ituloy yung impeachment. Unimportant daw si Vice President. Di ko lang alam kung confirm ba talaga ito kasi ito yung mga kumakalat. May isang commentator din na ito yung kanyang naging content. Sa tingin mo, if ever man na totoo po ito, attorney, ano masasabi mo doon sa statement na yon?
Sige, we'll predicate it on if this is true. And may part doon na she is unimportant. Kakaloka yung part na yun. Kumbaga, hindi enough na may drama, may superhero. Kailangan yung superhero ay makasingit pa ng konting pitik at insulto, di ba? Kahit paano. Pero let's just say that is true. I think that's kind of too little and too late. Unang-una, why did you let it get this far? Bakit umabot sa punto na ganyan, yung oppression is blatant, it's in our faces, and is leading some people to take to the streets? Bakit ganun? Bakit ganun ang trato kay Vice Presidente? Ngayon sasabihin ninyo, ay, wag niyo siyang i-impeach. Why? Dahil ba nakikita nila yung public backlash? Dahil ba na-measure nila yung social media reactions on this one? It's too little, it's too late. Doon pa lang nung kini-question siya on the confidential funds. Doon pa lang na she was being dragged into congressional investigations, making her answer to people with a mandate minuscule compared to hers. Yeah? Burning up her time, taking out the time of her staff from their duties, subjecting them to humiliating questions. Even the vice president is being subjected to humiliating questions, and in fact is being subjected to police actions. This is the second highest official in the land. Tiniis ninyo na since last year ganito na yung ginagawa sa kanya, and the oppression has been progressive. Now sasabihin niyo, ay, wag niyo siyang i-impeach. It's not even good news. Kasi at least sa impeachment, you see that there is a proceeding that you can question. Pero the rest of it, what about the insults being hurled at her by congressmen who sit in a place of immunity? Kumbaga, may parliamentary immunity siya. Pero pag si Vice Presidente, they can jump on anything that she says and even call her disrespectful. and even try to talk about things like holding her in contempt, even if they, babawi sila later on, di ka naman namin iko-contempt. You subject her to day after day of humiliating her staff. I think that whatever it is, if this is true, ay wag niyo siyang i-impeach. That wasn't even too much of a threat. Kumbaga yung impeachment, maliit na bagay yan compared to what they are doing to her on a day-to-day basis. No, I think that's too little and too late. There is no superhero.
Opo, at napakalayo ng approach ng kasalukuyang presidente sa nakalipas na presidente na hindi kasundo ang pangalawang pangulo, attorney. Makikita natin doon na parang wala lang kay President Rodrigo Duterte, no, kahit na siniraan na ang Pilipinas sa world stage, sa kanya siya pa mismo vocal na vocal, hindi, wag niyong ituloy yung kung may mga pagpuna, hayaan niyo yan kasi demokrasya ang ating bansa. Pero iba ngayon ang naging approach, attorney. Dito natin makikita ang kaibahan ng mga leader na ito sa pagtanggap sa mga hamong kanilang kinakaharap.
Ang tingin ko kasi hindi rin patas yung yung comparison. Pasensya na. Pero si VP Inday, she is more than capable of taking over the presidency. Kumbaga, we know that if she sits there, she's going to be a good leader as compared to the sitting president. Baliktad naman nung panahon ni Rodrigo Duterte. Sa totoo lang, I don't think anybody could fathom that VP Leni would be capable of taking over from Rodrigo Duterte. We know there were attempts, but the attempts were really not very well executed. We know that there was much public discourse. Pero, kumbaga, weak eh. I apologize if this hits people wrong. But the discourse at the time, even the actions of VP Leni were not, kumbaga, pagdating sa pagtutulong, we appreciated naman that she would undertake social projects, But compared to what the Vice President is capable of doing now, Vice President Inday can do right now, considering kung ganong kasipag, kung ganong ka-hands-off, kung ganong kadaming activities, plus her role as the Department of Education Secretary, to which hanggang ngayon yung ibang mga teachers sobrang miss na miss siya. Ang tingin ko, no comparison. Baliktad kasi yung sitwasyon eh. Ngayon, the President right now is nothing compared to Rodrigo Duterte in terms of toughness, in terms of hands-on, trying to fix the country's problems. We're not saying that Rodrigo Duterte was perfect, but at least we didn't sense the kind of danger in the streets that we sense right now. Hindi ganito kalaganap yung problema sa krimen. Hindi ganito kalaganap yung problema sa pagtataas ng presyo ng pagkain. He steered us out of COVID. Hindi natin naramdaman yung you hold your breath every time there's a natural disaster coming. Tapos hindi mo alam kung aabot yung relief goods o kung tama yung nailaan na relief goods. Ramdam nga natin na hirap ang rescue and relief efforts. Walang ganyan nung panahon na yon. So with a strong president at the helm, a strong and capable president at the helm, VP Leni had no chance at all. Pero dito, the VP Inday is a problem for a presidency where nakikita natin hindi ganong kabilis yung pagtutuon ng mga problema ng bayan. That's why when VP Inday says, ayan, kami na naman ang tinutuunan ng pansin. Hindi nyo pag-uusapan yung pagkain, yung tubig, yung kuryente. All of these things, ang daming kailangan ayusin. Magtrabaho naman tayo. But all that is happening is politicking. And it's happening because we have a strong and very popular Vice President.
Opo, and dito po sa mga pangyayari ngayon, attorney, malinaw na ba? At hindi na matatabunan pa ng kahit anumang issue na ipinupukol dito sa pangalawang Pangulo, lalo na sa mata ng publiko, na ito'y may kaugnayan sa papalapit, lalo na sa 2028 election, sa 2025 elections para hindi makaporma ang sinuman. Basta konektado sa mga Duterte kasi ang lahat ng mga inuusig po ngayon ay ang mga Duterte at ang mga malapit sa kanila o konektado po sa kanila.
Ang tingin ko, it's bigger than that eh. It's not politics as usual. Kasi huwag mong kakalimutan na nabaon lang yung issue ng charter change. Tignan ninyo yung attempt. Dito talaga nakikita ko naging active dun sa pag-o-oppress ng mga Duterte when we raised the alarm na bakit merong nagpapaikot ng People's Initiative on Charter Change. At nakikita nyo, very insidious. Ibig sabihin, tagong-tago, mahirap i-appreciate. But once you appreciate yung sinusulong na charter change, pinapalitan nila yung dual nature ng legislature, yung dalawang co-equal na chambers of Congress. Natitip yung equality nila. Gusto nila baguhin na maaaring kahit on its own, acting on its own, yung Kongreso will be able to propose charter change. Kasi yung votes will not be counted evenly. Kumbaga, hindi makakount yung two chambers na co-equal. Instead, each vote for each senator and each congressman, equal na lahat yan. Who benefits from this charter change? The Speaker of the House. Dahil kahit siya lang mag-isa ay magsulong ng mga provisions sa saligang batas na pwedeng baguhin, then that is a lot of power. Pag tinignan nyo, halimbawa, pakialaman natin yung Filipino ownership ng lupa. May raragsana naman dyan na real estate. It could change so many things, even affect our basic rights, just by one person holding the one chamber of Congress. And that's still hanging over our head, kasi nagbabago ang isip ng COMELEC as to whether or not kikilalanin nila ito despite the Supreme Court resolution na hindi talaga pwede ang charter change to People's Initiative. Ngayon, binaon yan sa limot. But the Vice President has raised the issue that if anybody is interested in her position, it is the Speaker of the House. So again, looming very large, literally and figuratively, itong si Speaker Martin Romualdez. And for me, so it isn't politics as usual. It's about changing the charter because somebody wants to gain power or some people want to stay in power. Who knows, baka abutin na naman ng 20 na taon yan. And that's the real danger here. It's not just about the Dutertes. The Dutertes are yung hadlang sa kanila. It's about the attempt to perpetuate power by a certain power block that's already very powerful right now. So hindi yan about elections lang. All of that, these are just parts of the whole. The whole is perpetuation of power, and that includes charter change. The next elections, disappear na yung mga anybody who can actually challenge the existing power, those have to be eliminated. So yun. This is about perpetuation of power. It's not about election alone.
Attorney, nakikita mo rin ba na merong ganitong kahalintulad ng mga pangyayari sa mga nakalipas na administrasyon at umaabot din ba sa punto na yung karma, sabi nga ni Vice President Inday Sara Duterte, ang gaba dili magsaba, hindi maingay, hindi nag-iingay at babalik din yan sa kanila. Meron na bang mga history din kagaya nito na grabe ang panggigipit kung ano-ano lang ang mga ginagawa?
Well, the first Marcos administration was like that, di ba? Charter change, perpetuation of power. Kasi hindi na dapat pwede si Marcos Sr. after 2 terms. Di ba? He had 8 years. Nung matatapos na yung 8 years na yun, nag-declare siya ng martial law. After martial law, nagpabago siya ng saligang batas. Dun sa bagong saligang batas, he was allowed legislative power. So nag-concentrate yung power talaga in one person. If anybody ever grew strong enough to challenge him, magugulgulo yun. Or he would again create another law para tuloy-tuloy siyang nakaupo. And it worked for the longest time. Diba? Umabot siya ng 20 years in power. And one of the main reasons kung bakit na-challenge siya was because physically naging weak yung presidente nun, and therefore other people there was a fight for who would succeed. So yun dito nakikita natin ganun pa rin ang strategiya. With Marcos Sr., when he declared martial law, lahat ng political opponents niya, pinakulong niya. O hindi ba nakikita natin ngayon that they are using lawfare to para lahat ng mga possible or potential challengers, even down to the local level, yung mga nagcha-challenge dun sa mga manok nila, suddenly pag-gising may kaso na o kaya na-disqualify. So nakikita natin, it's the same pattern. It's Marcos 1 all over again, except this time, it's not just a conjugal dictatorship. It's not, hindi pa tayo umaabot dun sa punto na ganon. But the characters, dito, conjugal dictatorship +1. Dun sa dati, 2 lang sila. So ano ba to? Nag-i-improve yung mga strategies nila. But it's still the same thing.
Ma'am, binanggit po niyo yung katagang characters. Meron lang tayo panunuring video, viral po ito sa social media at naalala ko tuloy yung sinasabi ng banal na kasulatan na kung pagkakatiwalaan ka sa maliliit na bagay, mapagkakatiwalaan ka rin sa malalaki. Pero ito, maliit lang to na manner, ma'am, ng unang ginang, na nag-viral ngayon sa social media. Alam ko makukuha ba ng playback natin? Na yung paghawak ng check ba yun, yung award, tapos militawan niya. Yan, Anong usapin po, ma'am, ng messaging. Anong pinapakita niyan, ma'am, sa taong bayan? Ayan,
Teka. Tinitignan ko din yung facial expression, So, this was intentional. What would anybody else have done under the circumstances? Either hahawakan yan, tuloy-tuloy, at o kaya gotten somebody to hold it up. Diba? Yan yung mga normal. In this case, ang tanong is bakit niya binitiwan? Ano yung impetus? Ano yung motivation? I will hazard a guess. It's not a very good one, but my guess here is that parang nakaka-insulto para sa kanya na siya yung tagahawak. Hindi ito something na napagod siya, binitiwan na lang niya. Hindi. She probably, and this is based on the facial expressions na, it looked like na the reason na binibitiwan niyang basta ganyan lang is because she felt insulted na bakit ako ang tagahawak ng banner na ito. So if this is the case, and I would double emphasize, if this is the case, then tama. It's the little things that will reveal your character.
Opo.
So,
ma'am, may nagsabi sa amin na ano raw pala yun, isang Davao-based koral yung binigyan ng parangal. Opo. Ma'am, sa mga nangyayari po ngayon, ano po ang magagawa ng ordinaryong mamamayan, mga payak nating mga kababayan na nakakakita po lahat sa mga nangyayari ngayon sa bansa at patuloy pong dumadalangin na sana dumating yung araw na maayos na po yung ating bansa. Ano pong magagawa, ma'am, ng mga ordinaryong Pilipino?
So, tama kayo, nasa Diyos ang awa, nasa taong gawa. Diba? Sinakasabihan din yan sa atin. So, dapat, unang-una, tuloy-tuloy ang panalangin. Tuloy-tuloy ang pagdarasal. Pero, kasama din po yan. Kasama din po dyan yung pagsasalita. Kasi, nasa saligang batas natin na ang pinakamalakas na sandata ng bawat mamamayan ang kapasidad nila magsalita, magpahayag. Ang karapatan po ito. So, ang pagsasalita, pagpapahayag, pwede rin po yung freedom of assembly, yung pagpupulong-pulong. Dahil mas malakas po tayo pag magkakasama tayo. Bukod pa dyan, ang pagpupulong Tapos yung kasama ang petition for redress of grievances. Ibig sabihin, hindi necessarily na mag-file ka sa hukuman ha, pero ipakita ang inyong kagustuhan ng pagbabago o kagustuhan na i-address ng administrasyon itong mga problema ng bayan, kasama po yan sa ating mga sandata. Protektado tayo sa saligang batas niyan. At ito ang bukod tanging paraan para maipakita ito. Of course, merong tinatawag na mga legal solutions. So nakikita natin sa mga ganitong problema, dalawa yan. Either may legal solution ka or may political solution ka or sometimes you have both. So sa pag-file ng mga kaso, ang pwedeng gumawa niyan ay yung mga tao kung kaninong mga karapatan ang apektado directly. So yung mga nakikita nating binabastos or nababastos during the committee investigations, quote unquote, or inquiries, na maaari silang mag-seek ng judicial redress. Ibig sabihin tumugon doon sa ating mga hukuman. Pero doon sa political na solution, dalawa yan. Isa ay ipagtungo natin sa eleksyon at bumoto na tayo ng tamang mga representante natin. Huwag na po natin iuupo yung mga tao na wala ang pakundangan kung kung makalapastangan ng karapatan ng mga resource persons. So, at pangalawa ay political solution din po ang pagpapahayag, pagsasalita, pagpupulong. So pag tumutungo kayo in public places, marami kayo at nagpapapansin. Kailangan pansinin kasi nagpapapansin tayo sa administrasyon para iayos yung mga polisiya, yung mga batas at saka yung pag-execute ng mga batas. Maaari rin natin idulog yan, tumungo sa kalye para para ipahayag yung ating pangangailangan ng maayos na gobyerno, para i-point out yung mga mali na ginagawa ng mga leaders natin na nag-exercise ng power na hinihiram lang nila sa atin, sa taong bayan. So ito po ay maraming paraan po to creatively express your opinion, to creatively express itong outrage dun sa mga nangyayari. So every time may makikita na pagkakamali ang administrasyon, gamitin yung mga sandatang naka-enshrine sa ating saligang batas.
Ma'am, maraming salamat po sa inyong panahon at pasensya na po sa abala, ma'am, kahit medyo maaga-aga pa sa inyong lugar ngayon. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, maraming salamat po. Thank you, Admar. Thank you, MJ. At maraming salamat sa lahat ng tagapanood.
Maraming salamat. Si former Presidential Communications Secretary, Attorney Trixie Cruz Angeles.